How does a venerable, that's the word, 300-year-old institution keep itself relevant? It's a question that the chief executive of the London Stock Exchange wrestles with. Dame Julia Hoggett says the purpose of the LSE hasn't changed over that time. Now, this is how it used to be. I do just about remember, not that, but I do remember the old trading floor just about before before Big Bang, which took place. It's always existed. The core purpose of the exchange, whether it be the NYSE, the LSE, anything like that, is to bring financing to help companies who want to raise money on a mission. Dame Julia says the exchange now needs to keep up with the times.
I want us to be young, scrappy and hungry. I want us to make sure that we have the compelling proposition for anybody who wants to raise capital, direct capital into great companies anywhere in the world. And that means all those hard yards need to be done.
Between old sclerotic, young scrappy, between old scrappy, old fat and complacent and young scrappy and hungry, Where do you think you are?
I think we've moved a long way towards young, scrappy and hungry, and I hope we stay there. Look, I mean, I say I run a 300-year-old fintech, but I run a very, very old institution, and its purpose has not changed in 300 years. That is to convene capital, to bring together those who have it with those who need it in service of an objective. But the way we do it has to change with the demands of the economy. We can't just say we've only ever done it this way and therefore we're not going to change. We have to recognise that value creation is changing, the way companies grow is changing, where companies are coming from, what they need is changing, and we need to change with it. And the UK has done more regulatory reform in the last 3 years than any other major global financial centre, recognising the need to do exactly that. And I think that is to our credit.
I was just looking at the IPOs for last year and this year, and they are down at one level, both in number, absolute, and in volume terms. Not dramatically, not awfully, but it does question the trend. And there are the number of companies that are looking for either a secondary listing or even a primary listing of overseas, mainly New York. You don't seem to be losing to Europe, you're losing to Wall Street.
Yeah, and look, the reality is that we've seen a trough globally, and we are starting to see that trend pick up. We've got another one tomorrow, great British fintech, Shawbrook, that's coming to market, and I think we'll continue to see more. And our pipeline is building, interestingly, from Asia, the Middle East, and from the EU. And we also had the first ever dual listing of a US company listing simultaneously on NASDAQ and London, a company called Fermi, that raised over $1 billion, raised 800 million or so, but actually had $1 billion book outside of the US and chose to come to London because of that incremental investor base. So it's not actually as complicated as the position is actually more nuanced than people realise.
Yeah, but you see, a couple of weeks ago I was interviewing your counterpart at the New York Stock Exchange, and I was saying, are you in the business of stealing or grabbing business? And she said, no, we want to work with others, even though. Is that really true?
In certain jurisdictions, it absolutely is. And I think the reality is that we've got a lot of, Tadawul is a prime example in Saudi Arabia, where we've had long-standing connections. We have the ability to have the pipes and plumbing operate between the two markets, and there's a genuine benefit for both markets adding the incremental value that they bring. And I think in case by case, company by company, that is the case.
But can you do that with New York? Because you are in competition for listings, you are in competition for trading volumes.
Yep. Is
there room to accommodate each other and work together?
I think there will be in certain spaces, but I think the reality is that we recognise that a lot of issuers around the world don't want there to be a unipolar capital market. They want to have access to different pools of capital around the world. Most countries see their capital markets as sources of national economic sovereignty and security as well, and therefore we do need to recognise that is part of the piece.
And so, if I understand you, if I read between the lines of what you've just said, you want London, assuming the New York is still going to be the biggest,
absolutely.
You want London to be that other duopoly market, not in Europe, not in Asia. You want it, we'll do New York and we'll do London.
And I've always said that we are the largest market in Europe, and we have been for the last decade. We raised, over the last 2 years or so, we've raised 2.5 times more capital than any other European exchange. So we absolutely have to make sure we're top of our game, and we're reforming ourselves and making sure we're as match fit as we can be. But I do think it matters that there are more global capital centres than just one. And one of the other things that we believe is that one of the things we want in the UK is for great companies to start, grow, scale and stay there. But we also assume that every other nation in the world wants exactly the same thing. And our market needs to provide that access to international capital, but also enable companies to have the sovereignty they want to have in their own nation.